I remember the buses and that kind of thing were not as good as some of the other buses, and the books were not as good. And I was told that some of the other books, but they were sort of Raggedy Dick and Jane, and a few of the other books, they were some rough books, and we had some rough times, but we made it through. Didn't have much to see in the school, but what they had, they used that extremely well. They were able to make bricks out of straw, and that kind of situation, make it work.
We had outhouses, very good distance between the guys and the girls, no problem, privacy. Plus, it was down in the woods, as we would say, and so the girls tended to be on this side of the school, and the guys were on that side.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Okay.
I also make a joke, we didn't have bathrooms, even though we had running water. That seems strange. Well, the reason is, I say we had running water because we'd have to run to the creek to get it. And run from the bull, Mr. Scott's bull.
The students always bought the lunches, most of them, in the brown bags. And each room had a cloakroom where we put out jackets and shelves where we placed their lunches. And we used to have bring jars to school that peanut butter or jam or jelly used to be in for our drinking glasses because we had the water in the buckets and the dippers.
Grandma didn't know from nothing about a brown bag lunch. She had the Maxwell brown coffee can. Remember? Does anybody remember Maxwell coffee used to come in? It was maybe 3 or 4 inches high, round, and the biscuits left from the prior evening, slice those biscuits open, smack some dressing of some sort in there, put it back in the can, and that was lunch. Lunch and the pail.
There was a library, and I love to read. Books are my life. And I didn't know there was a library. And if you were good, the teacher would let you go in that room. I didn't know it was a library. And I went in there one day because I was very good. And I saw all those books. It was like someone had given me something good to eat. And I finally got my courage the next day or so to say, may I take a book home?
Well, like that.
And she said, you can take the book home if you promise to bring it back.
Wow.
And I did. I read the book all evening until I went to bed and carried it back the next day. And she said, tomorrow you can carry another one. And it was just like opening the doors.
Wow.
The most wonderful thing ever.
All the books you got was used. I mean, it was like broken and ragged. I think when I got in the 5th or 6th grade, something like that, that's the first time I seen a new book. All the older books, I think at the time that was getting towards the 60s, 62, and tonight they was complaining about racial equality and things at the time, right? And so they start doing a little more for the schools, stuff like that. But the books we would get at the beginning of the season, right? You would think you would start the year out with a new book. You get a book that's all written on, somebody put notes into it, the rock with things in the books like that, right? And or the back was torn off like that, right? And you think, well, what's this, right? They came from the other schools.
Yeah, well, a lot of our materials that we had were hand-me-downs, because the white school, after they got their new equipment, they would send them back to the black school. But it was basic reading books, reading material, math material, social studies, and so forth. But you didn't have any resources. We didn't even have a library at that school. So it wasn't like you could have additional resources available upon your needs.
The books that we received, they were not, I would say, adequate, because some of them, they were actually just deteriorated, where that, you couldn't actually, the pages were torn or whatever, because they were actually passed down from one student to the other, and you did not, you were able to buy books, brand new books, but during that era, there was a lot of people that couldn't afford to buy books, and so you actually would buy used books, because the county did not supply you with books.
We had used books. I think near the end, I remember one new book, but we knew the books old because they were already marked in. But for our workbooks, I did bring you some workbooks that we had during that time. The workbooks were new, but we knew that where these books had come from, with all those marks and all. But regardless, we still were able to get the education. We could read a verse. Some books, if the pages were torn out, I think the teacher would, if we were reading out loud, would just use somebody else's book to do the reading. But it's just so unfortunate that those things happen. But like I said, with all of that, we still got the education. The teachers, we had the good teachers, and they were concerned about education. Our parents were concerned about education. So we got what we needed: reading, writing, arithmetic.